All right, so trauma bonding and the spell of the narcissist. So if you're an adult, young adult, old adult, you find yourself always forming relationships with narcissistic, abusive people, whether that's friendships or boyfriends, girlfriends. You just find yourself surrounded by these types of people. Most likely, the way you learn to relate and form bonds and friendships and express emotion and intimacy with people was formed through trauma. And so let me explain how this works. So I grew up in a dysfunctional, narcissistic family environment with a narcissistic parent and an enabler parent. And what ends up happening is, as you're forming a bond, the first people you bond with are your parents. And if anything is off in that relationship, it's going to change how you relate to people in a healthy way. So this is where the spell of the narcissist comes in. So in my situation, my narcissistic mother would do, I call it the 1-2 punch. She'd do a combination of love bombing and gaslighting. And so love bombing would be pouring on the affection, super heavy, like really intense, like, oh, I love you so much, everything is so great, this is so incredible, you're so amazing. And then boom, she'd rip out the carpet. And then it would be, oh, everything's terrible, you're terrible, you're in the way, whatever it would be. But it becomes this emotional roller coaster where you then begin to long for that feeling of the high intensity love and affection. And that's where the gaslighting comes in, where your reality ends up being askew because you question, I'm not good enough because I'm not receiving that intense affection. And so, at least this is what happened to me, was I felt, yeah, I'm not good enough. I need to change something about myself because I'm longing to be in that intense love and affection and admiration coming from the narcissist. And so this is dysfunctional and this is traumatic, especially for a child. And what ends up happening after years and years of this, different feelings and emotions begin to take root inside of you. This is what happened to me. So I developed a deep sense of insecurity. I'm not good enough. And the narcissist used to always say is, you should change this, or maybe if you had an earring, they'd like you, or you should grow a ponytail, or, you should wear hemp pants, stuff like that. So this is when you're forming the basis of how you're going to relate to friends and future partners. So it starts off traumatic, and it's traumatic with the first people that you're bonding with, your mother and your father. And then from then on out, every relationship is going to be that way. You're going to bond. And what's interesting is you bond to trauma that other people will administer on you. So you become comfortable in receiving love and affection through narcissistic abuse. And so what ended up happening in my case is I would push away good people, like normal people that weren't doing that narcissistic abuse, which is essentially the spell. Like I needed to be under the spell and then I could bond to them. And, my dad illustrates this, perfectly. And so he grew up in a narcissistic family environment and a lot of emotional trauma. And he then trauma bonds to my mother. And they've been married for 40 years. And he has no idea what's happening to him. I've tried to speak with him about it. He expresses, yeah, she's definitely evil and there's something wrong, but he is so deeply bonded to her that even when she's not around and I'm trying to talk to him, he still thinks she's listening. Oh, she could be listening. Like, don't say anything. And he will not deviate from her spell and what she orders him to do. And what really speaks to, how powerful this is you think a bond between a parent and a child would be the most powerful bond that there is. This is your child. This is a part of you. You would think nothing would be able to come between it. But growing up in the household, him being the enabler and, permitting and allowing emotional and mental abuse to happen to his children really shows that he's under an intense spell and that the manipulation is so extreme that he has no idea what's going on, or he does and he chooses to receive the affection and intimacy in the way that he knows how, which is through basically being abused. So, I found myself in a relationship where I was deeply depressed and did not want to be there and felt like, like I was trapped. Nothing was going to work out and I really had nowhere to go. And that's when I was able to just finally take a break from all the people around me. And that's when I chose the no contact. This was for 1 year. And this is when I was able to break that spell. I was able to break the trauma bond, and I was able to break the spell of the narcissist that I was under. I had no contact for 1 year from my narcissist mother. And I thought a lot about it today, and I was thinking, what were the things that allowed me to do that? Was it the no contact? Was it, sobering up? Was it, expressing gratitude? Was it all these little things? Did all the little things add up? And is that what allowed me to really break free? And I think, yeah, those were helpful and those were key. But I think I really figured out what it was. And I had finally come to terms with what I was running from. Because my whole life I had been coping and running from all the abuse that I had endured. And it had been doing that for 35 years of running from that. And I finally just accepted it, and I realized you only have two choices. You either you live by your trauma and your abuse, which, it dictates what you do, it dictates your life, it's controlling you, or you live with it. And that's when you just accept the fact that it's happened and you move on. And I think really that was it. That's what did it for me, was coming to terms with it. It happened and I accept it and I'm willing to carry it and move on. And so, if you're wanting to move on and get these people out of your life, I think that's the first step, is to come to terms with it, accept it, and begin to rebuild. And that's where all the little things come in. You just start rebuilding your energy, rebuild your mind, your body, and your spirit. And you do what you have to do for yourself. That's the most important thing. Because I spent the majority of my life living for other people. Just based off of, what I had been told by the narcissist. You're not good enough. All the insecurities piling up. And you're not living your life for yourself. And so, choosing to start making my own decisions and in a way become super selfish in a good way. It's okay to be selfish and care about yourself, because if everyone was selfish and cared about themselves and focused on improving themselves every day, the world would be a really good place, because we'd all be better people and we would have self-interest in mind to be good for the rest of everyone around us. So it's not easy, and it's not easy accepting it, but it can be done. I mean, I've done it, and I know you can do it. So, think about it. And, if you feel like you're stuck and, you're in this relationship, this is like where my dad's at. He's fully stuck. He's 40, almost 50 years deep in a relationship with this narcissist. And I've offered him outs, man. I've told him, look, you can split up with her, you can move out, we'll get you your own place, we'll dial you in, if you need financial support, whatever it is. But he won't do it. And I guess in his case, he's just not aware. But if you're aware, then I think the best thing is to just go inward and start really thinking about how to build yourself up. And go inward and try to plot an escape. Do the slow fade and really think about what's going to be best for you. And if there's children involved, what's going to be best for them too. Because speaking from experience, I really wish that, my dad had stepped up and been able to see clearly what was happening and pull myself and my brother out of that environment. Because for me, if I wasn't able to turn things around, I wouldn't be here today being able to share this with you. I mean, I was headed down a really dark path, and it's amazing that I was able to figure it out and come out of this. So, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and I hope that you can see this and understand it. But it starts with the awareness and, the trauma bond with the spell. Those are the big ones. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. And it's 4th of July, so happy 4th, and happy birthday, America.